then you've got the other faction of the Taliban, which is blowing the whistle on the fact that a lot of the Taliban leaders are in the direct pay of the CIA and Israel, which is exactly what Qari Zainuddin said back in June. He's a tribal leader in Pakistan, a Taliban member who defected. He blew the whistle on the fact that another Pakistani Taliban chief called Baitullah Masood was in the pay of the CIA and Mossad, and shortly after he was assassinated by that very Pakistani Taliban chief. So anybody who calls them out on the fact that they're just mercenaries for hire, which the CIA and the Israelis are paying off to continue their domination in Afghanistan, gets assassinated. Then, of course, you have the revelations that were reported in the New York Times recently about how the Afghanistan President Hamid Karzai, who has just had his phony, corrupt election victory validated by the UN, even though it was blatantly fraudulent, his brother is the kingpin of the country's booming opium trade in Afghanistan, which, as we know, is still at record levels. 92% of the opium exported in the world comes out of Afghanistan and ends up on our streets and destroys young people's lives in the West. Now, the kingpin over that in Afghanistan, one of them is Hamid Karzai's brother, called Ahmed Wali Karzai. And as the Times reported on October 28th, he is directly on the CIA payroll. He's the middleman for the opium exports out of Afghanistan that have been controlled by the CIA since at least the 80s. And, of course, that was interrupted briefly before 9/11 when the Taliban leaders cut down on opium production. And it was, of course, ramped up beyond all records after the invasion in 2001. Now, what the Nation article also brings to light is the fact that Ahmed Rateb Popal, who is another Taliban leader in Afghanistan, former Taliban leader, when the invasion happened in 2001, and he was instrumental in the Mujahideen effort against the Soviets in the late 80s. He's also the cousin of President Hamid Karzai, and he is also instrumental in overseeing the opium production and the opium exports out of Afghanistan, as well as his brother. So that's two cousins of Hamid Karzai who are instrumental on that. And these two guys are actually charged in the United States, and they pleaded guilty to importing heroin into the United States in 1996, and now they're in Afghanistan overseeing the opium production, overseeing the imports into the U.S., even though they're convicted drug-dealing criminals. But they're now representing the CIA's interest in terms of opium production and export in Afghanistan.
We've got about 2 minutes left to hit on other little key points, but I want listeners to understand we're merely grazing the surface here. It is a joke how much of this is publicly admitted and how Brzezinski's written 2 books about it, Obama's chief foreign policy advisor. It is a joke how public this is, and it's just incredible hypocrisy. So in summation, any other little tidbits you want to point out, and of course, on top of that, then, your take on what the real reasons are that we're in Afghanistan and will never be leaving.
Well, the reasons are that they want to build the military bases as a launch pad to go into Iran and to go into the few remaining other countries that are not completely under the control and jurisdiction of the U.S. military-industrial complex. In the meantime, they're making vast profits in this huge black hole of weapons sales and logistics and, of course, the opium production.
And don't forget sex trade. They're kidnapping kids. That's admitted mainstream news.
Yeah, but long term, it's just about geopolitical domination as is laid out in the Project for a New American Century game plan. Full spectrum domination. And they're getting the military bases in place now. They've already built over 100. They're building more in the country. And you can't remain in the country, you can't occupy the country if you don't have the mirage of an enemy to sell to the general public.
That's it. So they manufacture the enemy for just a few $1 billion and then have a multi-trillion-dollar war. And it doesn't matter if Bush leaves office or Obama or Mitt Romney or whoever's coming next. It will all continue just with different rhetoric. And Obama is the man of peace, massively expanding war everywhere. We might as well give Genghis Khan the Nobel Peace Prize. Why don't they give it to him in a posthumous manner, Paul?
Well, exactly. I mean, we haven't even mentioned Pakistan either. He's more of a warmonger than Bush was, and the numbers prove it.
Well, Paul, I know in the next week you're going to do a big detailed report on all of this. Great job over at PrisonPlanet.com and PrisonPlanet.tv. Have a great day, my friend.
Thanks, Ollie.